Today's brands suck, and so do consumers. Let me explain to you why. Streetwear, fashion, culture, whatever you want to call it, is suffering from a lack of individuality, a lack of community, a lack of authentic creation, a lack of innovation, and a ton of other things. And I'm going to explain exactly why in today's video. So stick right with me. All right, so first things first, here's the problem that's wrong with today's society. Consumers aren't holding these brands responsible. What do I mean by that? In our current landscape of fashion, art, whatever industry you're in, there are a ton of the same things. And now, as a business owner, don't get me wrong, I understand you got to follow a formula and do what works. But as a consumer, we have to demand more creative stuff. We cannot continue to support the same cookie cutter thing that works over and over and over again, because you know why? If we don't demand more, brands are not forced to make more. If something is trash, you got to tell people, hey, this is trash. I want something better. There's a problem with that. Supporting mediocrity, it creates a cycle of mediocrity. For example, at the last project show in Vegas, the number one thing I saw from every single brand was rhinestones. Now, I love rhinestones as much as the next guy. And if rhinestones are selling, you should keep making rhinestones. But that doesn't mean that every single brand needs to make rhinestones. As a consumer back in the day, I sound like an old head saying this, you would tell somebody, hey, this is the brand for rhinestones. This is the brand for this. This is the brand for that. But if consumers continue to support, guess what it does? Is it creates a cycle for people to continue doing the same thing over and over again, because at the end of the day, guess what businesses want to do? They want to make money, they want to sell things, and they want to play a part of a trend. We need to break those things. Now I feel like in today's consumer landscape, you have a lot of business owners really trend chasing instead of seeking value. The same thing is present not just with today's brands, but also with today's consumers. I feel like, let me jump back and explain that a little bit more, but also give you a story. So when I say seeking value, I mean seeking individuality, seeking originality, playing into your own unique niches. I think that when you begin to seek trends or focus primarily on trends, guess what? You fall in line with a million other people and you lose that individual touch that makes you special. And I'll give you guys a perfect example of that, right? Back in the day, what used to make streetwear great was the fact that each brand was a representative of the space that it was in or the culture that it represented. Supreme, one of the biggest and greatest brands in the streetwear world, represented New York City culture. The advertisements that they did, the people that they picked as models, everything embodied that New York skate lifestyle. Contrary, a brand like Stussy, who was based in California, embodied that California surf edge. Though the two brands came up and were inspired by a lot of the same things like skateboard culture or surf culture or street culture, they had a very distinct separate design language and a separate look because they were unique and individual in their own way. Now, however, with the internet, I feel like people are exposed to a ton of information. And whereas that's not a bad thing, being overexposed to too much information doesn't allow people to, or doesn't force people to participate in these communities and do the work for the things they love. For example, you can be from California with a New York style now. You can be from Nebraska and have a New York style. You can look up your favorite artist and buy exactly what they got on, regardless if you understand the culture or things that are a part of it that make the things great. I feel like with today's consumer, we've lost the allure of being unique and an individual. We are now more followers than anything else. And like I said, we all get our style from somewhere and we all pull our influence from somewhere. But the problem lies in everyone pulling their influence from the same thing. If we're all looking at the same artist, we all look the same. There is no sense of identity. There are a ton of problems with that. I think right now there is a consumer fatigue when it comes to collaborations. Now you guys are probably thinking, right message, wrong messenger, because I'm the collaboration guy. I'm the perfect spokesperson for that reason. You have people like Hypeland as an example that did collaborations at first because I love the anime. Not everybody does collaborations for that same exact reason. Collaborations now I feel like are a dime a dozen. You see a ton of them. They don't have unique perspectives. People are over collaborating and nobody really has a fresh plethora of ideas individually to stamp and mark their own brands. Rather than collaborations being about bringing worlds together, it's now hype driven. It's now, is anime popular? I'm going to do an anime collab. It's now, is this thing popular? I'm going to do this collab. It's not about, I'm from New York and this guy makes the coolest bags and we're going to make the coolest bag inspired by New York together to bring our two unique individual perspectives together to make the best product for both of our consumers. It's now, how do we sell more? And I feel like that's where the allure of just collaborations, but just brands and just consumers have been lost. We lost that individuality. Consumers not holding brands responsible doesn't force change. Back in the day, I'm gonna keep saying back in the day like an old head, but back in the day, if something was trash, you got told it was trash. People didn't buy it. It wasn't about having better marketing. It was about making better product and sticking up for the community that you're a part of. It was about actually being part of those communities. Nowadays, I feel like because there's so much information and people have so much access to stuff, you don't have to actively participate in these communities in order to be a part of the community or look like you're part of the community. Think about it. Back in the day when Jordans came out, you had to camp out for a pair of Jordans. So when you saw somebody wearing something rare, it was a conversation that got started as a result of the fact that you both had the shoes on. You probably both had a similar sentiment or experience buying something because it was like, oh, you probably did the same exact thing as me and we probably share the same values and we're part of this community. Now, those same pair of Jordans, I can just buy them on StockX. I can just pay a little bit more money or go to a resale shop and get the same exact thing. I don't have the experience. I lost the allure of the community. I actually am not even part of the community. I just want to look cool. You understand what I'm saying? We've lost the true bottom line as consumers or brand owners because we no longer are doing things that interest us in a genuine way that we have to do work for. We just got it easy. You understand what I'm saying? It's like getting a degree but never doing the homework or going to college. You got the A, but you didn't learn the lesson. We're no longer learning the lessons. So back on the collaborative note, I think that thought-driven collaborations are something that are missing in the entire landscape of just consumerism in general because people are over collaborating. I think that there is a consumer fatigue when it comes to collaborations because you see them all the time and there's no longer a unique perspective. I feel like in today's brand landscape, because there's a formula for things that work, everyone's following that formula. And whereas that's not wrong from a business perspective, it's wrong from a creative perspective because we've lost that sense of individuality that makes brands great. When I think about the old streetwear days, I think about the brands like Diamond and the Hundreds that coexisted. And one, they didn't really collaborate with one another, but they represented two different spaces in the world of streetwear, but they all were super successful. Because when you wore that Atom Bomb or when you wore that Diamond or when you wore a Huff's green logo, you represented a different piece of people or a different culture within the genre of streetwear. Or Supreme, you represented as a certain place. There was a certain allure and community that came with that. There was certain activities you're a part of. I think that really on this same end, like I said, I'm jumping all over the place, but I think really on this same end, it brings me to the point of we need to bring back gatekeeping, bro. Gatekeeping needs to return. I think gatekeeping is great for culture, it's great for innovation, and really it holds brands and consumers accountable. Let me explain why. I think that, like I continue to reference the fact that the greatest moments are when things are not easily accessible. What gatekeeping does, in my opinion, is it forces people to participate in the culture that they want to be a part of. Think about Supreme's drops back in the day. When Supreme was super hyped and you had to go to a store or you had to be online camping out and buying a bot, you were an active participant in that culture. Or even before then, when Supreme was super niche and was only gridlocked to certain spaces, you only knew about it because you were in those spaces. If you weren't actively in those spaces, you didn't really know about them. And whereas maybe these brands have benefited from the fact that the consumerism level is so high now and people want to buy more things, on that same end, the culture has suffered because whereas they're selling more things, you have more people looking the exact same and not upholding the culture. I feel like when consumers don't uphold the culture, brands don't uphold the culture also too. Like I said, it's like an ecosystem that feeds one another. It's like once the product becomes available for everybody, it loses the fact that it's special because it no longer represents a certain niche of people and it becomes just another product that's mass market. Now, there obviously are examples where people hold that up and things are limited and and brand owners still represent what they originally sought out for. But on that same end, there are a lot of examples where things don't work. And really, this leads me into my next discussion, something I'll talk about too, of why certain brands who really focus on niches are winning, but the mega brands are failing now and they're not doing the greatest because they've lost their cultural allure and appeal and the uniqueness that created the hype and feelings that their consumers had in the first place. This is going to be a controversial take, but we also need to bring back shame. Now, I'll be the first person to say this. Back in my day when I grew up, if you wore fake stuff, you got fried. Now, I'm not a big brands person. So I think that if you want to wear whatever you want to wear, sure, go ahead and do that. But I think that there has to be some level of integrity as consumers that says, or some integrity or value as consumers that says, I worked hard for this and this is why I'm wearing this brand. For example, watches. I save up to buy a nice watch. I feel like it's not only just a status symbol, but it's a trophy for the work you put in, and you earn that effort and reward. When you buy fake stuff, you kind of skip the grind. Now the brand is meaningless. Where's all the history that went into that? And I'm not justifying inflation, overly priced things, or even some clothing articles that are thousands of dollars for no reason. Like there's no reason we should be spending $2,000 on a t-shirt. But on that same end, I think that there is an important factor that comes in when you are saving and working towards something. Again, it goes back to community. When you save or work towards something, or you dedicate time, you earn something, you invest and you get something as a result of something, you put yourself in part of the community. So when somebody sees a nice watch on your wrist, you can be like, I know this guy works hard. I know he does this, that, and the third because this is not available to everybody. Wearing the fake watch, you know what it does? It puts you in that room when, not to say you don't belong there, but you just lose you lose the allure of it, the purpose of it, the drive. It's like, I think today's consumer, to me, is too focused on the end goal and the perception that comes with wearing brands rather than being a participant and not caring about that. It's like Virgil said in the video when we talked, the brands you wear are uniforms for the culture that you participate in. I don't want to wear a uniform for something that I'm not a participant in. I'm not going to wear a fake watch that screams I'm rich if I'm living in an apartment. My value should be different than that. The same way in which you shouldn't even buy an expensive watch if you don't have your values together. So now I'll jump into the main topic, niche cultures and why these communities are winning. First things first, being part of a niche and being authentically part of the culture, it allows you to make things that resonate with an audience and really create a cult-like community because you are an actual spokesperson that is representing their brand. Though I say consumers are not holding brands accountable, there are some consumers on the opposite end that are getting a lot smarter. We are losing the middle ground consumer who's just doing things we are losing the middle ground consumer as a result of the information that is available out there. You either got the guy that's really smart and is hyper specific in what he wants and wants brands that speak to the different interests that he has, or you have the lower level consumer that just buys things based on trend and as a result regurgitates the garbage that we have out in the market right now. So let's talk about the high level consumer. Niche brands win because they attract this high-level consumer. Attracting the high-level consumer, who is generally the tastemakers, create a trickle-down effect which allows the lower-level consumer to kind of follow suit a little bit later. So I'll give you a case study. We can talk about why Nike is not doing the greatest right now, and they're losing a lot of market share to brands like On that are a lot smaller. Reason being, On's primary function is, reason being is On's primary purpose is functionality. Comfortable shoes for running. Hoka's another great example. They make running lifestyle the entire point of their brand. They innovate, they work with creators that resonate with the audience, that represent their values. They are actively participating in that culture and finding people that resonate with their consumers and the brand lifestyle. When you look at On, or when you put on an On shoe, or you run an On, you immediately see the thought and dedication that they put in their product for this to be great. While, for example, Nike, on the other hand, which is a great brand, is not putting that same effort. They're just relying on the same silhouettes and consumerism, but are losing the unique touch that comes with being part of a community. Ask yourself, if you're in the comments right now, what niche does Nike serve right now? What is their unique selling factor? What is their point of view? They don't really have one. But a brand like On, they are focused on running. I've never seen an On soccer campaign. I think they say all the time, it's like when you have too many focuses, it makes it impossible for you to be great at one. Virgil taught me the lesson of hyper-focus. That is embodied through the focus on niches. When you hyper-focus on one thing, consumers know exactly what you're about. They know exactly to come to for that exact thing that they're looking for, and there is no confusion in the marketplace. You own a small part of the watermelon. I think these big umbrella brands are the ones that are losing right now, and you see it with the market share that they have now. The reason why they're losing is because when you try and catch everybody, you lose everyone at the same time. You cannot catch everyone and speak to everyone at the same time. Like I said, we are all individuals and we have our different influences and desires. Trying to appeal to everyone, you lose your sense of individuality. Whereas niche brands can speak to that same niche properly and be successful in these spaces. It's like culture is an example. Culture is built from the inside out. And it grows, and as the culture grows, the brands grow. Consumers demand the brand growth, not the opposite way around. You don't go for a mass appeal and then try to appeal to a community. You go in that community, plant the seed, water the plant, and it grows as a result of it. I don't know. I'm gonna end this because I'm really just ranting. I'll just say like this. The lack of accountability, really, to be honest with you, is what's killing consumers and brands. Brands are not forced to be innovative because consumers aren't demanding it, and consumers that are smart, they're participating in these niche brands, which is why they're winning, but the consumers that are dumber don't even care. Let's all hold ourselves accountable and get smarter and actually participate in the things that we love. No more buying garbage. No more allowing brands to make garbage. No more allowing people to just participate or just join a culture that they're not really a part of. Let's make sure things actually shake. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, man. If everybody's playing the same game, then nobody's playing culture, man. If you like this video, like I said, I just went on a rant this one. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you think. But I'm just talking my mess this game. I'm sorry.